How's it going, guys, and welcome to Game Evolved. I'm Shifty Cow, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Battlefield 4 Spring Patch and just some first impressions. So before we get into it, if you do go on to enjoy the video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to our channel as we do post Battlefield content daily. So hopping right into it, the Spring Patch is probably one of the largest patches we've ever had for Battlefield 4, and it just brought in a ton of different content, including 5 new weapons, a new game mode, and of course the standard netcode updates, bug fixes, all that kind of stuff. So if you do want to know everything that was in the patch, you can click the thumbnail on screen and that's going to take you to a video that pretty much explains everything other than gun balance that they've changed. But anyways, I actually think this is a pretty solid patch because not only did it bring all the standard netcode updates and bug fixes, that kind of standard stuff that we usually get, they also brought in 5 new weapons and the Gunmaster game mode, which if you guys haven't played that, that is a ton of fun. The only thing I would really change is either make it free for all or just bump up the server count to like 40 people per server, because right now at 20 people it's pretty slow, it's not very fun, and then as you bump it up to 64 it just gets more and more chaotic, you get a lot of kills stolen from you. So I think if they were to do free for all, it'd be a lot more fun, but other than that it's still really enjoyable to play. Now moving on to the weapons, the AN-94 is probably one of my favorite things about this patch just because it's just an amazing assault rifle. It does really well at medium to long range just because as soon as you're able to control the burst fire, you kind of time it correctly, this thing just shreds kids. As for things like the Grozas, those are pretty decent. I haven't really used them all that much, but they have very high damage per second. But they do have a lot of vertical and horizontal recoil, so they're not going to be the most effective things at range. Moving on to the Mare's Leg, this is something that I was probably most excited for, and until I got an optic, I actually just hated this thing. Like, it is not good with the iron sights. As soon as you get something on it, it's actually pretty decent, but for some reason they decided that for sniper scopes, the only thing you can put on is a 40x scope. And I'm not sure if that's a bug or something, but that's just kind of silly. I think I'd probably just want either a 6, an 8, or just nothing, because that's just kind of ridiculous having 40x on a sidearm. But anyways, moving on to the L86, I really haven't touched because it doesn't look all that attractive, but probably some of the downsides of this patch, I would say the number one thing is the adjustments to the SRA. Now, as you guys may know, I absolutely love the SRA just because it's a ton of fun to kind of trick shot, shoot helicopters, jets. It's just an amazing thing in general, but they nerfed it hard. Its mobility feels so much slower than it used to, and you can't do anything like you used to be able to, where you could do little loop-de-loops or have it just spin around really quickly, or basically if you shot it up and then you could have it fly back down and hit someone on the ground. You can no longer do that, and that's just so depressing because the SRA was amazing, and now it's not really as fun as it used to be. It's still pretty decent, you can still get helicopters, but it is nowhere near as fun as it used to be before the patch. Now, in my mind, there's kind of two things that lead to a game being successful. One, the gameplay's got to be good, so it's got to be well balanced, you know, nothing's going to be OP or game breaking. And then it's also got to be fun. You've got to have things that don't get repetitive and boring over and over again. Now, for me, the SRA was more on the fun side because you could still get kills with it. It was a very skilled weapon, but it was just so much fun to get trick shots or shots like this. This was a shot I got a couple of days ago where I thought I totally missed him, but if you look at it in slow motion, when I put the SRA away, it does a little loop-de-loop, comes back and hits the helicopter. I can't do that anymore for the rest of Battlefield 4 unless they adjust it, which really that's just kind of depressing because it is relatively balanced now. Like, I'll admit, it was probably OP for the very fact that it could be used on pretty much anything. In my eyes, if they were to adjust it again, I would put it back to the same mobility, pretty much same stats, but on things like tanks, LAV, heavy vehicles, I would just have it do less damage because there was really no time where I wanted to switch from the SRA over to the RPG or the SMA just because it did so well against everything. So I do think it actually was kind of OP, but not in the sense of sniping down helicopters and jets. Like, that's what it was made for in my eyes. And so I'd much rather have them go back to the original mobility and instead only change the damage against tanks, LAVs, heavy vehicles, so that way it's got a more specific job, and in that way it'd be a lot more balanced and still have that fun and joy of sniping helicopters. Now, to make matters worse, they've also increased the mobility of helicopters and attack choppers, all that type of stuff, which I actually think was pretty needed, because the attack choppers, they were pretty trash before this. You could do pretty well, but it was very hard to weave in and out of cover so that way you could actually, you know, block lock-ons. And now that they've also nerfed the SRA, helicopters are just going to dominate, and unless you're just really skilled with the SMA or an RPG and they're at close range, most people are probably going to go for lock-ons, which I mean the Stinger, the HVM battle pickup. Those are going to be a lot more prominent on the battlefield, and that's not really what I like to see in Battlefield, because no one's ever been like, oh yeah, dude, yesterday on Battlefield 4 I got this crazy lock-on from across the map, it was amazing. Like, that's not what people are going to think when they're thinking of Battlefield 4 only moments, where you have crazy levolution and explosions and just helicopters blowing up. You're not going to think of a lock-on, you're going to think of, RPGs, SRAs, kind of those skilled weapons where it's actually enjoyable to watch, and it requires a fair amount of skill and luck. Not only did they reduce its total mobility, but they also greatly reduced how far the SRA can actually travel, so you're no longer going to get those awesome shots where it's across the map, it's just a crazy amount of luck and a lot of skill, just leading up to this perfect lead. That's not going to happen anymore because it's simply going to blow up before it even gets to the target, and I really don't understand that at all because that's a lot of skill and luck, and you never really see that, and that's a big selling point because if I get a nice SRA shot like that, I'm going to go tell my friends, I'm going to tell my Xbox buddies, and they're going to be like, wow, I might want to buy Battlefield 4. If I don't have it, I might want to get premium, I might want to do all this stuff, and try and keep playing the game so it'll keep the game franchise going. And I just really don't understand that, because that's a really big thing for Battlefield, and although it does slightly increase the gameplay, like it needed a nerf, there are so many other ways of going about it that you can still keep the fun factor, and you can increase the gameplay. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Be sure to tell us what you think about the SRA nerf. Was it justified? Should they have gone about different ways? Tell us down in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, go check out our Twitter, guys, and until next time, stay buttery.